Welcome to the Sovereign CEO podcast. I am Caleb Jones, and here we talk about how to create your own location-independent income through your own location-independent business, move to a less bad country, or at least set up an international backup plan, and do all these things for very little money. Today, I'm going to address a topic that I get questions about occasionally, and that is being a public brand. I actually mentioned this, or Billy and I mentioned this on the Business Badassery / Unchained Business podcast a few months back, but I want to go into a little deeper dive on this today. And that is, if you choose to have an Alpha 2.0 location-dependent business that is based around a public persona. So first, right off the bat, let me make it clear, you don't have to do this. So a big misconception in my audience, or people who know me, say, well, I don't want to start an Alpha 2.0 business like you teach because I don't want to do videos. I don't want to be famous. I don't want people to know who I am. You don't have to. For many years, not anymore, but for many years, I had a company called CCM, which was a completely offline company that had nothing to do with the internet, a completely location-dependent Alpha 2.0 business. I sold marketing services to local IT companies in certain regions. I would take their old customer lists and I would market to those lists using direct mail and telemarketers I hired and direct mail I wrote, pretending as if I was that company. I would bring them clients or resurrect old clients, and I would take a 50% commission of those for about a year or two. And it was a completely offline business. There was no website for that business. There was no YouTube channel. I mentioned it a little bit on my LinkedIn page, and that's it. There was literally no web page. No one on the internet knew that business existed. And that business was a good cash cow for me until the pandemic, when I replaced it with something else. You can also sell, although I don't recommend it, but you can also sell products. If you sell hard products that are high margin, and that's the key point there, niched high margin, then people don't really care who you are. It's helpful, but you don't have to. So you do not have to be a public persona in order to have a Sovereign CEO compatible, location independent, high margin, low work, high income company. You don't have to do that. That being said, there are many opportunities to do that in a business like this. We're just selling information or services, and it does help. It certainly helps to have a sort of public persona. Now, let me give one more spin on this. There are a lot of people who are anonymous. Many of you know, for many years, I was not Caleb Jones. I was Black Dragon on the internet. I was anonymous. I was teaching dating advice for men for many, many, many years. And that was a strong six-figure income for me. It still is. For many years before anyone even knew my real name. I didn't hide my real name. When people asked, I said, my real name's Caleb Jones. Here's a picture. I'm Malcolm Independent. I don't care if people know who I am. But no one knew who I was, with rare exception. And that business did very, very well. So that's another option, is that you can be anonymous. So you don't need to be a public brand, is what I'm saying. What I am saying is that it helps. It is easier to make the bigger money or to get from zero to the income faster when people see your face, when people know you, when you are the face of the business. You don't have to be, but it does help. I have stated many times, and this is the truth, and I'll double down on this, I don't want to be well known. I don't want to be famous. I would rather not do this, but I like money and I like success. I like location-dependent income, and I will do whatever is necessary to get to the income that I want, even if I have to be a public persona. That's fine with me, but that's not my objective. I'm an introvert. I do not want to be famous. I would hate to be as famous as someone like Andrew Tate or Donald Trump. Shoot me in the fucking face. I would hate that. So I do not want that. But I'm here being a public brand, a public persona, to get to my income that I want to get to. Once I get to that income, I'm going to back off a little bit. There will still be pictures of me and things like that. I'll be around, but it won't be as hardcore. So this really, for me, is a means to an end. And you could think of it that way. And think of it as a means to an end, a means to the income, rather than I want to be famous. Now, let me give you the flip side. There are some of you who have more extroverted personalities who do want to be well known. You want hundreds of thousands or millions of followers on YouTube or Instagram or TikTok or Twitter or what. You want the fame or you want the notoriety. Great. That's easy and easier for you. Good for you. That's fine. So just be aware of the reasons as to why you want to do this and be congruent to those reasons. Make sense? So how do you be a public brand? Well, first, brand. You got to think brand. Caleb Jones, me, Alpha Male 2.0, Sovereign CEO, Caleb Jones. These are brands. I am absolutely a brand. I am a character, aren't I? Am I the typical person you'd meet on the street? No, I'm not. Okay. So I have a very distinct brand. I have a distinct look. I have a distinct way of speaking. I have a very distinct way of writing. Those of you who found me on my blogs, I had a very distinct voice on my blogs, didn't I? Very unique. So you need to find your unique brand, your unique look, unique vibe, unique communication style. And I would probably classify those three things: look, vibe, communication style. You don't want to get up there and just look completely normal and act completely normal. That's boring. That's not a brand. Be different, even if you think it's negative. So my friend, Andrew Henderson of Nomad Capitalist, his branding is nerdy kid, right? He's nerdy and he makes it work. That's his brand. Good for him. I'm very proud of him. He's awesome. He's much younger than me and he makes more money than me, which means I hate him. Just kidding, Andrew. He knows what I think about this. My point is, he has a brand. The brand doesn't have to be something that you think is positive. The brand doesn't have to be cool guy or cool alpha male guy or ripped six-pack ab guy. It doesn't have to be that. There are big names on the internet who are ugly, chubby, fat guys, right? John Tron, he's a chubby little bastard and he makes lots of money online. So it doesn't matter what it is as long as it's unique and distinct. Cool? In other words, don't try to act cool. Unless you are cool. Now, if you're cool, be cool. Fine. Okay. Frank Grillo is cool. So his brand is cool action hero guy. Awesome. That's great. That may not be you. And if that's not you, that's fine. Now, if you are physically fit, great. Do videos with your shirt off. That's distinctive. That's different. That's awesome. If you're really ugly or weird looking, great. Lean into that. That's a brand. That can work. If you're really overweight, lean into that. I think you should lose weight. That's a different topic for another time. My point is, lean into that. If you dress funny, if you have funny hair, if you look funny, if you have, maybe you look perfectly normal, but you have weird backgrounds in your videos or weird colors on your websites, whatever, your brand should be distinct. One of the reasons I've done well on the internet for a long, long time is I'm pretty distinct, aren't I? Even in the realms in which I exist, in the Five Flags space, I am very distinct. Most Five Flags guys, no Five Flags guys or international guys acting like me, none of them, right? Even in the red pill world, of which I'm a part of, I guess tangentially at least, in my Alpha Male 2.0 content, I'm pretty distinct there as well, right? I'm there. Who else is like me? Really, honestly, not very many. I can't think of one. There are some people who have some similarities, but no one is like me because I'm distinct. So think distinction. How can I separate myself as a brand so people will remember me? I promise you, when you watch one of my videos on YouTube, or if you stumble across one of my blog posts and read one of my blogs, you'll fucking remember it. Whether you like it or hate it, doesn't matter. You'll remember me, won't you? I'm very memorable. What's really funny is that my wife and I, Pink Firefly, whenever we go somewhere in public, whenever we go there the second time, even if it was months ago, everyone there remembers us. If we go to a store, a small chocolate store, a grocery store, a restaurant, people say, "Oh, hi, welcome back. It's you again." We are very memorable. A, I'm a very memorable brand. B, my wife, if you've seen her, is very memorable. She has long platinum blonde hair past her ass. And she looks like Barbie. She's a size 0 with triple D boobs that she shows off. We are very memorable couple. And all the time, my wife will say, "Oh, wow, they remember us." I'm like, "Sweetheart, we're the most memorable people they've seen in probably a year." Be memorable, which means be distinct. Okay? The next thing is that you're going to have to figure out a way in which to communicate your brand. So you need conduits to communicate to the marketplace. What are those? Depends on your brand. So this gets kind of into social media stuff, but this is an aspect of that. You need to be on all the social media sites and apps that are congruent with your brand and your niche. So that's the next thing I didn't mention. And of course, I mention this all the time. I bore people to death when I say this. Niche. You have to know what your audience is, who your audience is, what type of person consumes your content and likes your brand. What kind of person is that? And you go to where those people are. So if you're a business person, if you're operating with a business niche and a business brand, a distinct business brand, you need to be on LinkedIn. Period, end of story, man. You got to be on LinkedIn, probably Facebook, maybe even Twitter. You've got to be there. Even if you hate LinkedIn, I don't care. You've got to be there. If you are an edgy brand or funny brand or you appeal to younger people, you need to be on TikTok, Snapchat, places like that. Definitely Instagram. You've got to be there and you need to be cranking out content on those platforms, ideally daily. And I mean that when I say daily, ideally. You need to sit down and make a list of all the social media platforms, even if they're weird, that your niche appeals to. If you market to women, you should be on Pinterest. You should probably be on Etsy. Those two platforms are great for a female audience. You should be on those platforms. Probably Facebook. If you're like marketing to older women, definitely need to be on Facebook. You see my point? Where is your niche and where do they hang out? And you need to go there and flood those places with your brand, with content. Now, I've said this 10,000 times. Happy to say this again. The best content in the modern era, in the collapsing Western world in which we live, where people get dumber every year, IQs drop every 10 years, attention spans drop, the best content to produce, whether or not you like it, is video. Video is the best. Audio is the second best. Written word is the third best. Okay? Speaking in general across the board. Now, can you get away with just doing written word, blog posts and articles and nothing else? Yes, you can do that. It can work for certain more highbrow, intelligent niches, academic niches, business niches, things like that. But again, video would be better. You will get from zero to the money or from the money to the big money much faster if you're doing regular video. It's just the world in which we live. About 4 or 5 years ago, I made the big transition from blogger to YouTuber because I saw the writing on the wall. I saw where people were going. I saw people were abandoning blogs and going more to stupid crap like TikTok because people get dumber and dumber every year. You can get pissed off about that and say, oh, boo, I don't like that. But as always, you modify your behavior based on the way the world is, not the way you want the world to be. And so you make those transitions. That's what I did. The next aspect of this is you need to control your brand. Well, what does that mean? That means that the content you provide on your websites, your social media, your videos, your podcasts, whatever you're doing, needs to be tightly controlled. So I tightly control all the stuff in terms of video or other content I put out on the internet. I don't just put out anything I feel like. I used to do that very briefly and it very quickly didn't work. So I don't put out just whatever I fucking feel like. If I put out whatever I feel like, honestly, this is how my content would look. If I just decided to put out whatever the fuck I felt like, I would do a video on how bad Star Wars is right now, okay? Then I would do a video on business. Then I would do another video on Dungeons and Dragons. Then I do another video on Dubai. Then I do another video on dating and relationship stuff that I talk about at Alpha Male 2.0. Then I would do another video on the fiction short stories I've been writing lately. Then I would do a video maybe of you watching me playing a video game. Then I would do another video on business. Now, that may sound like a lot of fun to you. And I'm sure when you heard me say that or watched me say that, you went, ooh, that'd be awesome, Caleb. Could you do that? Or you'd think, well, that'd be awesome. I'd love to do that. Just put out whatever I wanted and you would make no money because that is completely incongruent to a brand. You're all over the fucking place. You have to be focused when you're a brand. You have to talk about only the things that you're talking about in terms of marketing, whatever product, services, or information you're marketing. You can't just do whatever the fuck you want. Now, if you want to do whatever the fuck you want, set aside some blog or YouTube channel that is purely for fun, that you'd post purely for fun, and that's it. And you have zero expectation on how much money that makes. I did that for many years. I had a blog called the Black Dragon blog. I had another blog called the Caleb Jones blog. I had a third blog called Sublime Your Time. So the Black Dragon blog was selling my dating and relationship stuff for men. It was a very profitable blog, made a lot of money, okay? My Sublime Your Time blog was a branding blog I had for my consulting services as a business consultant. Made a lot of money with that. The Caleb Jones blog was my purely for fun blog. I posted, those of you who used to read that blog years ago, I've done it in many years, I posted where the fuck I wanted. I would talk about business. I would talk about politics. I'd talk about libertarian politics. I would talk about movies. I would talk about Five Flags occasionally. I would talk about whatever the fuck I felt like. And that blog made no money. And that was fine because it wasn't supposed to. But that's my point. You have to control your content. If that sounds like a pain in the ass, I'm sorry. That's the reality of this business. You got to control your content. If you want some kind of outlet to just do content for fun, you can certainly do that, but have that be separate from your business. Make sense? By the way, this includes random videos that you make about yourself. So since being on Instagram, I have a lot more videos over there, Instagram, TikTok, places like that, of me just my life, walking around Dubai, traveling, spending time with Pink Firefly. I have to very carefully curate those videos to make sure they're congruent with my brand. I'm probably not going to make a video of me just, staring at me working on my computer. Probably not going to do that, right? That wouldn't be congruent with the brand. I mean, maybe it would. Now I think about it, I don't know. But you get my point. I have to be very careful about the type of stuff that goes out under the brand umbrella because I want to be congruent to the brand. I want to bolster the brand, grow the brand, be consistent with the brand. And I didn't mention this, do things the algorithm likes. So I've talked about this before. You got to do things the algorithm likes. And I am not very good at this in terms of YouTube. I'm better at this in other platforms. I'm much better at this at TikTok and Instagram than I am at YouTube. But if you are all over the place, the algorithm doesn't know what to do with you and won't show your videos to anybody. You got to be a lot more focused on this stuff. This is why I had a blog that was very big and very popular, because you had a blog, you had no algorithm. You had SEO, but blogs are very different. The way to make a good blog is you post really good stuff. However, my YouTube channels are comparatively very small. They're very profitable, make a lot of money on my small YouTube channels. But in terms of the number of followers, they're very small. Why? Because success on YouTube is not about posting good videos. It's about kissing the algorithm's ass, which I'm not as good at. But at least I am focused enough where I only focus on certain things. That's why about a year or two ago, I broke out 2 YouTube channels, an Alpha Male 2.0 channel and a Sovereign CEO channel, because I was getting nowhere fast posting dating advice for men and 5 flag stuff and business stuff and relationship stuff all in the same channel. YouTube had no idea what to do with me. So that's one of the reasons I made that change. So staying focused not only is better for the brand, it's better for the algorithm, which means it's better to get more customers and more eyeballs on your brand. The last thing about your brand is that, and this is big, you've got to be honest and congruent. So you have to be real with your audience. So one of my lifetime standards is something I called a personal code. I talked about this in my book, alphamalebook.com. It's called The Unchained Man. It's called a code of conduct. One of my personal items that I follow in my code is that I can't lie. I can't say to you something I know is false. Now, I can be sarcastic. I can not say certain things. I can not answer questions. None of that is lying. But I can't say to you something I know is untrue. I would recommend a similar policy. If you're going to be an online brand, don't lie. Be honest with your audience. And frankly, if there's something you can't be honest about, don't say it. Don't even bring it up. Don't even talk about it. Because you and I have both seen a hell of a lot of people in the online space, in the influencer space, the blogger space, YouTuber space, TikToker space, who lied to their audiences and got in really big fucking trouble. Haven't we? You know what? It's a real simple solution. Don't lie. Just don't lie. Be honest. Have some integrity. At least, again, if you want to lie about shit, don't talk about that stuff. Keep that stuff off the brand and only talk about stuff you can be honest about. I'm not saying, by the way, that you disgorge your entire life and disclose everything you do. Over at my Alpha Male 2.0 channel, I talk about a lot of very intimate specifics in my personal life, so I don't mind doing that. But even I hold certain things back in my personal life that I don't talk about publicly. That's fine. You don't have to disgorge your whole life. Just be aware that what you do say should be honest and should be real and should be congruent to who you actually are. And by the way, this comes across. I'm sure it comes across in my content that I'm being real with you, that I'm not making shit up or putting on a show. This is me. Now, my energy level for my YouTube videos, my podcasts is probably amped up about 10 to 20%. That's definitely true. But what you see is me. This is not a character I'm playing. This is Caleb Jones. This is how I really am in real life. Maybe 10 or 20% less energy, but this is who I am. And everything I talk about is 100% congruent to who I am, what I believe in, and what I want and how I live. I am very, very big on walking your talk. I have seen many content providers, not just now, but even pre-internet, who didn't walk their talk. They would teach things, and you find out about their personal life, they're doing the opposite of what they're teaching, what they're saying publicly. And I remember that. I'm like, oh my God, that will never be me. If I'm ever a public figure, I'm only going to walk my talk and talk about things I'm actually doing in my real life. And I hope to be a good example of someone who actually is what they portray. I live a non-monogamous lifestyle. I'm very open about that, and I actually have that. I'm location dependent. I travel around the world. I actually do that. I live a 5 flags lifestyle. I said I would leave the United States. I left the United States. A lot of people make a lot of promises. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. They never do it. Every promise I've ever made to my audience, with rare exception, I've done. Now, sometimes I've done them later than I planned, but I've done them because I'm congruent. You don't be perfect, but you got to be congruent. And that way, frankly, I'll leave you with that. When you do make mistakes, because I make mistakes all the goddamn time. When you do make mistakes, people will forgive you because they know they're honest mistakes. You have all this history of 100% honest content. I have been an online content provider, a public figure, quote unquote, on the internet since 2009. So that's what, 14 years now? First few years as Black Dragon, and since then as Caleb Jones. I got a lot of history online. And so it's not like you don't know who I am. You could go back and look up my shit I did a long, long time ago, and you can see I've been congruent that whole time. So it only helps you and it compounds over time, if that makes sense. If this is a topic that more of you want to hear about, being a public brand, certainly let me know. I can certainly do future podcasts on this. And I will see you in the next podcast or next video. Have fun. Bye.